List.io.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
That thing totally wigged out, man. Did it even play?
All right.
I think we're going to have to start this one over, Mike.
I heard an intro.
I couldn't hear nothing. I couldn't see nothing. My
In
screen
fact, we
went
should
blank.
probably just start like this.
Okay,
Yeah.
start like this. I'll go edit this out later.
This is live, folks. It won't be live when you see it, but it's live now.
StreamYard just messed me up. That's all. You're good. Have a good show.
All right. Hey, folks, I'm here with my friend Guy Dorian Sr., who's been a fixture in the comics industry almost as long as I have. He has over 30 years of experience. He's worked for Marvel, DC, and IDW. He's known for ROM, Space Knight, G.I. Joe, and New Warriors, and for creating new characters like Scorch. He also helps create action figures. And Guy is also a very accomplished martial artist, which I admire, which is why the fight scenes he draws are so realistic and credible. But we're here today to talk primarily about comics, not the state of the industry, although we may touch on that. But what makes for a good comic is a unique medium. It's a combination of words and pictures, and you can use it to tell any kind of story. It's better suited to some stories than others. Now, obviously, it's best suited to superheroes because before comics, there were no superheroes. Those Cleveland boys created the first superhero in Superman, incidentally, which used to sell 3 million copies nationwide. And that genre has taken off. It's been up, it's down. It was up hugely throughout the 90s. And now it's kind of up, down, up, down, up, down, depending on the product. The product has deteriorated. Well, I shouldn't say that because, as I've never tired of saying, Sturgeon's law holds up for every form of art. Sturgeon's law is 90% of everything is crap, and that's true about books, movies, TV shows, and comics. And that's just the way it is. You have to really understand the medium and be a skilled creator to make a comic that has real impact. I'm delighted to be working with Guy on a new comic now called Lioness, which will be published by Patriot Comics.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We've been, talking about trying to figure out when you and I are actually going to get together and really work this thing for a good number of years now. I think the first time we ever talked about something like that was really like 9 years ago, to be honest.
Wow.
Now that, when I looked back at some of the things and old emails and stuff, but the things happen at the time they should.
That's true.
I never rush anything. There was people who say to me, "Hey, I want to work with you, Guy." I'm like, okay, it'll happen in time, because I've been in the industry actually now, Mike. It's going on from the time I became an assistant professional working at Marvel on books selling in the millions was X-Force in '89. So it's almost 30. I think it's 37 years at this point. It's a long time, man. And I got to tell you, you touched on some things about the industry, and 99 or whatever it is, 90%, whatever the percentage was, is crap. And I think what Mike means by that is that, there's anyone can produce a comic book, which I think is great.
And everybody does.
And that was where I was going with it. And everybody does. But everybody really shouldn't. But at the same time, I'm happy they're being made. I don't care who makes them. I think Mike and I are on the same page with that we both there's so many different things that are against the workings of people in the comic industry to even make comics. I would say that I found out, being in the industry this long, that at least 75% of all comic creators have a regular day job. At least, if you're talking about the entire industry, like everyone who makes comics, you're probably at about 90%. And the average amount, what a lot of people don't realize, is the average time that people are really mainstays, like continuously working in the same family group of creators that continue on, is like 5 years. Most everyone is weeded out within that time, either because they need to make more money, or they just can't take the schedules, or they just can't keep up with most of it mentally, because there's this huge mental aspect of working on a team and working through at a time with deadlines and edits and personal feelings about projects. When a lot of artists find out later on, when they start, they go, oh wait, I can't just draw what I want and it just sticks all the time. It doesn't. But anyway, it's an incredible medium that pushes forth so much of the industry: toys, games, film, television. As we see all over pop culture, comics is the actual cogs of the machine.
Yeah, it's true, especially since Marvel and DC started to parlay their characters into live action features. Now, Superman was a TV show during the 50s starring George Reeves, and he was a very amiable character, and it was a lot of fun. But anybody looking at those old black and white videos is not going to believe it for a second. I mean, there's obviously George Reeves being held up by wires while a fan blows his cape.
Yeah.
That stuff, yeah. But it was an entertaining show, and it wasn't until I think that we got the Christopher Reeve Superman that people would actually believe a man can fly, because cinema had progressed so much at that point, and special effects had progressed, and of course there was no AI at the time. But
I have something to add about that. You know, there was something else that made that work. Just a little note. Sorry to cut you off. Just in case people don't know, Christopher Reeve was a pilot and he knew about flying. So when they shot that film, they really weren't exactly sure what to do with him particularly. And he said, well, I would bank this way. I would bank and I would turn. And it turned out that his knowledge really made a difference. That's it. I just wanted to put that little tidbit in there, because a lot of people still don't know that.
Yeah, and also it had a great script. In the tradition of all sequels and genres, each subsequent Superman movie was not as good as the first, and they kept going downhill. But then Marvel got into the game. I forget what the first Marvel superhero movie was. Oh, it was probably Spider-Man, and the first live action Spider-Man was a good movie.
Well, are you talking about the one in 2001 or whatever it was, 2001, 2002 with Tobey Maguire?
Yes.
Okay, so what came first? The first Marvel characters movies the first one was Blade. That came out, I think, early 2000.
That's right.
And then the X-Men came out in 2000 as well. It was either one year after the other, 6 months after the other, something like that. And then Spider-Man was in development because those two were successful. But the first actual Marvel characters film of the newer age that defined what Marvel can make good films like that from the comics that we all create was Blade.
I've never seen it. Should I watch it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, geez, how am I forgetting his name right now? The actor, Wesley Snipes. Sorry, Wesley. Yeah. He's a third degree black belt. I think Goju-Ryu or something. I'm not sure. It's a form of karate, and he's at the time I believe he was a 3rd degree black belt. So it was nice to have a real martial artist involved, and he knew what to do, and he was an incredible actor, so he could carry the weight of an entire film.
He showed his martial arts chops in Passenger 57. Remember that?
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's very good. Recently, I saw him in a movie headlined by Eddie Murphy. It was called Dolomite, and it was based on a real character who made a blaxploitation film in the 70s. He just made it up out of the whole cloth. It was outrageous. It's a hilariously funny movie. Not the original Dolomite, which is trash, but they make fun of that too. Wesley Snipes is in there as an actor and collaborator. He's very droll, but that's a side point. Except that Dolomite had one foot in superheroes and did most of those blaxploitation films.
Yeah, I remember the name, so I know I must have seen it.
Yeah, well, the movie is great. It's on Netflix. I recommend it because it's funny. It makes fun of Dolomite, who's a ludicrous character. And I saw the original Dolomite movie. And it's so inept that it's funny too. It's so bad it's good, as they say.
Yeah. There was another movie like that it was so bad it was so good. If I remember it, while we're on here, then I'll spew it out.
Well, let me ask you: have you seen any recent comics that you thought were outstanding?
Besides anything that you do with Jeff Slemons, Jeff is my man. If anyone out there who doesn't know Jeff Slemons, he's like, we're really good buddies, and we've worked together many, many times. And the last time I spoke to him was like a half hour ago. Great.
Love to work with him again.
Yeah. But I would say there's a guy right now, at least visually, I saw his artwork, so I haven't been able to read the comic, but it's a Hulk comic, and his name is oh man, I can't remember, but it's some kind of horror Hulk comic that's out right now. That thing looks absolutely fantastic. And I'm actually on StreamYard on my phone because I'm outside, so I can't search it or my screen will go black. I think his name is Nick Klein. It might be Nick Klein, might be his name.
New guy.
Yeah, and he is really, really good. Anything else? Pretty much most of the other stuff, as far as most anything, I mean, there are really good things out there, but not necessarily for my taste, but not in the way okay. So in the 80s, if anyone wasn't there in the 80s, I was there in the 70s. So, but if you weren't there in the 80s, you didn't get to know and see the extreme awesomeness that was brand new pop culture things that were being brought to us out in that world and throughout that entire decade into the early 90s.
That's true.
You just don't get it, right? You just don't get that kind of thing. And what I'm talking about is the sensationalized, bombastic awesomeness of new characters and new stories that create new franchises that are action-centric, that are science fiction action-centric, and multi-genre-centric, but with characters that would last from then till now and never stop. You just don't get that nowadays. So they just don't know how to create the same anymore. So it was the same with comics. You had a lot of burst of these great creators, just it was like a next generation from the early gen who were exploding. Mike was there, and Mike was one of the best writers out there. And you go,
I can tell you what exploded one after another in the 70s. Conan the Barbarian by Roy Thomas and Barry Windsor Smith.
Oh yeah.
I could not believe that art and how he progressed from issue to issue. Swamp Thing by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson.
Oh my gosh, that writing, Len Wein's writing on that was fantastic.
Yeah, and Master of Kung Fu, where Paul Galassi again exploded in front of our face to take Steranko one step beyond.
Master of Kung Fu, Paul Galassi. Paul is one of my closest friends. Fantastic guy, and he was when Paul, I'll give Paul a little time here because a lot of people don't see him. He's not in the industry at the moment, and he probably won't be back ever.
No.
But I'll tell you this: he brought the energy and beauty, and he was a fan of Jim Steranko. Jim Steranko was his favorite artist, and he aped Jim, and he didn't try to hide it. To him,
he had his own style too, and no one would mistake him for Steranko.
Yeah. Now, what he did was he purposely wanted to let his career be guided by Jim Steranko's art. He was such a fan of the fundamentals of Jim Steranko. Now, what Jim Steranko could do is he could draw, he can paint, he can do anything, he could design. And Paul had come out of college. He was just in his early 20s when he did that stuff, by the way. I mean, we're talking a young age. Now, what I noticed, just to get a little tidbit here, what I noticed is a lot of us who came in at 19 and 20 and 21, 22, stuff like that, are the guys who are mainstays. Even if we leave to go do other things, we always come back. We leave, we come back. And we're going to be here, and we're going to keep going. And Paul was one of those guys. And man, did he define Master of Kung Fu. I mean, no one else has ever, even Mike Zack, nobody else has ever quite, in my view, has ever done Master of Kung Fu as good as Paul Galassi did.
No, it was outstanding, but there's one caveat, and that's I collected every issue. There were no actual martial arts depicted.
No, because Paul's not a martial artist.
No, which is something that's letting the medium go to waste, because you can show martial arts in a way, in a comic that not only is exciting and adds to the story, but helps characterization too. And that's because there's so many techniques in martial arts, so many that many people aren't familiar with. I'm talking about body throws, joint locks, things like that they just don't show.
Yeah,
they don't have the knowledge. And when I started doing comics, I vowed to bring that fight choreography to the books I wrote, and I've been very successful with that. And also in cutting out dialogue, as I point out, people are fighting, really, they don't have conversations with each other, except for Nate Diaz, who's coming back.
Well, it's funny, people do not, like, if you're in a combat situation, you certainly don't, and you're someone who knows how to fight, or someone who's been trained, you certainly don't waste time talking. I mean, unless you're trying to play for the crowd in a public fight like these guys do. I mean, whenever a professional fighter is fighting in the ring on television, they're fighting for their next big fight on television. They're not fighting for any other they're fighting to win, obviously, but if they are going to lose, you don't know if you're going to lose or not, because you got to remember, you're taking two supermen or superwomen and you're pitting them against each other. And when you do that, it's just like when Superman fought Doomsday. Superman could just rip a giant hole in the earth if he wants to, but still fighting Doomsday, it's just another guy fighting a guy as strong as you or stronger than you, and you don't know who's going to win, because the lucky punch could come from anywhere or strike. So these guys have to talk, they have to smile, they have to do things. Yeah, and they have to sell that next fight. Even if they're going to lose, they have to make it entertaining. This is why Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather Jr. could always win. Now he won because he knew how to win, because he knew when to stand and when to run and when to punch, and he always talked trash, even during the fight.
Some guys do talk trash. The thing about superheroes is, though, they're an artificial concept to begin with, and a lot of people that write them don't have any personal experience with combat. So, and they also think that every panel should have words, whether they're required or not. So you have all these ridiculous discussions going on between superpowered characters who are throwing rays at each other, and the language doesn't even sound like real people talk. I got one here. I gotta bring this up.
That always bothered me, the some of that language, and I think it comes because most people don't know anything about what that's like.
Right. This is where is it? Oh yeah.
And if I'm looking down at all while we're talking, it's because I'm obviously still drawing, because I'm still. This is how you stay in the industry for this long, is you continue to work no matter what.
You know what? I'll just put this up on the screen here.
Yeah,
it's funny, and y'all get a kick out of it because it's so typical of the way comics were written back then, and it all goes back to Stan Lee. We can blame Stan for so much of this. The awkward language. Here we go. Where is it? Oh, darn it! It doesn't reappear here. All right, fine. I know how to do it. Well, anyhow, it's a picture of Doc Doom, and he's fighting Mr. Fantastic. And Doc Doom is saying, come on. Then turn and stare in abject awe at Doom the First, the new ruler of the world. And Reed Richards says, at long last, it's the two of us, as it was always meant to be. Well, that's okay for a comic book, but it doesn't sound like real people talk.
Of course not, especially not adults.
Yeah. I have to mention that I recently read a graphic novel that knocked me on my ass. I think it's right over here if I can reach it. Can I reach it? Yeah, hang on. There it is. All right. This is one of the most outstanding comics or graphic novels I've ever read in my life. It's by Garth Ennis and Steve Epting. Partisan. It's the story of the Russian front during World War II, and Russian ordinary people forced into combat to resist the Nazi invasion. And there's not a wasted word or a panel in any of this stuff. It's one of the greatest graphic novels I've ever read in my life.
Oh, that's high praise there, Mike. That's high praise. And I mean, those two creators are two of the greatest ever.
Yeah. Well, don't take my word for it. Take a look at it yourself. It's probably getting bookstore distribution because it was published by TKO.
I remember Steve Epting. I think I had a one or two pinups printed in the Avengers when Steve Epting was drawing it way back in 91 or 92, something like that, when I was just a wee lad. And I remember I would go into the office. Who was the editor at the time? It was the Italian guy. How am I forgetting his name now? It's been so long.
Dick Giordano?
No. After him. Showed up to the office at 2 p.m. Went home at 5. Oh gosh, I just can't remember his name right now. Anyway, I used to go into the office, and he used to let me make photocopies of Steve Epting's original pencils as they came in. Tom Palmer was inking him.
Wow.
And I used to go in there and grab it. And I have a whole bunch of Steve Epting pencils, copies of his pencils. And and some of them had like the lettering, like where the lettering would go, markered on top of it. It wasn't on top of the pencils; it was on the copies. So I would either make I would either make copies of the pencils, but it wasn't my job. I was just working there, but I would hang out in the offices all the time, just go up in there. It was a different world back then. It was like working at the Daily Bugle. It was not a corporate thing in any way in that way. It was a bunch of people with their doors open, sometimes closed, having meetings, yelling about comic book characters. And there was everyone walking around going, "Hey, what are you doing?" You see John Romita walking by. John would look over my shoulder. "What you drawing, guy?" And I'd be like scared out of my mind because it's John Romita, you know. And I was just a fixed. I don't know what the word is. I was just fixed inside of Marvel at the time. But I mean, it was an amazing time, man. And Epting's work was just so spectacular. He changed his work since then and went more like Jackson Butch Geist did with using, you know, more photo reference and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, you know, going the more old school route of the old school comic strip artists of the 50s and 40s, I guess 50s, like the Rip Kirby's and stuff like that, strips. But man, he was just so good. It was pathetic.
Yeah, well, this is probably the greatest work of his career, and of course, it's extremely realistic. And one of the good things is this is a big book. It's much larger than a standard comic, as it deserves to be. There are a couple of double-page spreads in there, which merit double-page spreads. A lot of people do double-page spreads because they think, "Oh, I got to do a double-page spread." But this is actually worth it because they're showing a battle scene, or
Right.
There's one double-page spread which is showing a horrible atrocity. I'm not going to discuss it. You'd have to read the book to see it for yourself. But we all know what the Nazis were like and what they were doing.
Oh yeah. And you know, Jack Kirby liked to use double page spreads. Jack Kirby's MO was usually he had a 6-panel layout and a lot 3, 5, and then a 6-panel grid. And he would start off with a splash page open to a double page splash, and then throughout maybe a double page spread, sort of like 7 pages in from that or so, and end on a page that usually lots of times had like 3 panels with a big ending panel or page, or it would be like a 6-panel grid and end with somebody, you know, walking off or something, or a ta-da moment, you know, small panel, wait till next time kind of a thing. But double page spreads, double page splashes. This is my terminology that I use. Double page splash is it crashes the entire 2 pages, 1 image. Double page spread could be 2 pages that you put into one or is written into one, and it has one major shot, and it has to have an anchor. It doesn't necessarily have to have one major shot, but usually it has an anchor shot. And this plane is helping me out right now. But the anchor shot is that you can have panels that go across or inset panels, but you need one shot that anchors the 2 pages together.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you. You're right.
Yeah. So this terminology is really important. I've been recently working with some people who work in film, and they're writers who work in film, and they've done movies and film and everything, and then they write comics. And I'm not knocking them, just to be clear. But what I am saying is they don't, you know, I understand about writing film and stuff like that. I know the process, but it's very different. You have to understand pacing. You have to understand and know what an artist will most likely be drawing and how that timing works, because you pace a comic in that way, and you grab the most important part of that image, that scene from between panel 1 and panel 3, and between panel 2 and the panel between panel 2 and panel 5, and then so on throughout a page, throughout a scene. So they're interconnecting, but you find that most important the most important information and put it into those panels that way. Now, what these guys sometimes do is they'll write 2 actions by a character. The character's doing one thing and has an expression, and then in the same panel answers the phone and talks. Well, you can't do that. You can't. It doesn't work like that. You can't show a specific character emotion and then change that character's emotion in the same panel. It doesn't make sense. Those are 2 panels. Action, 2 actions as well. Well, a character does one thing and then he's grabbing something else. You can't do that. That's 2 panels. Whether it's an inset shot of a close-up of grabbing or whatever, you cannot do that. So I've been having to go into these, when I work with these guys who are on TV and they write for movies and stuff, and I got to go in there and, go, okay, you have this understanding, you have these degrees, you've written for big films, but comics, different animal, and you're working as a team and understanding how an artist is going to portray that. When Mike writes, so I've been going through the script for the book that Mike and I are going to be working on, and there's no way I don't understand at least 90% everything visually in my head when I look at it and read the words, because he understands what an artist is going to do, and he's dictating to me, understanding how my mind thinks or any artist thinks, how panels work and pacing in panels work, and how that needs to be illustrated, and how that pacing works on a page. And it's such a refreshing thing to see something like that. And it's unbelievably difficult when you take something and you look at it and you go, okay, I need to, from someone who doesn't understand the way Mike does or I do, where I go, how about I just take the page you wrote and I just draw it? Don't write panel 1, panel 2, panel this, panel that, this kind of panel, that. Just let me draw it, because it's not going to be what you wrote, because you're not quite getting the understanding of how this paces. So I've been having to do that, and I found it's a lot easier for me to just draw it out and say, this is the way it should look, instead of having meeting after meeting to try to explain,
Yeah, I know. And one of the reasons that I write like that is when I started writing comics, I drew each page out by hand. I'm not a great artist, but I'm good enough that anybody can tell what I'm drawing at a glance. And that's how I wrote comics for 25 years. I drew each page out by hand with all the dialogue, the captions, and any extraneous directions that would fit in the margin. And it taught me so many things. One thing it taught me, which is so important, is how much weight a page can bear. And that made me cut down on my words. And also taught me to go from panel to panel. That's how I wrote. I mean, I would have a general idea in my head. I write outlines now. But back then, I had the general dramatic structure in my head, because a story is a dynamic narrative with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it goes like this. It's not always static. But I would draw that opening panel, and I'd try to make it compelling. And then I'd think, what happens next? What goes in the next panel that advances the story? That doesn't mean it has to be action. It doesn't even mean it has to be words. But it should advance the story in some way. And story consists of a lot more than just action. It consists of characterization. It consists of quiet moments, pauses, which I find are so important to help characterization. For instance, I'm done working on it. Richard Bonk is almost finished with Private American.
Great artist. Continue.
Yeah, people their heads are going to explode when they see this. This millionaire is the opposite of George Soros, in that he loves this country and he wants to help it. And he's put together a team headed by the Private American, whose name is Marcos, and he calls them the deplorables. And he calls them into his house for a meeting, and he's explaining something, and then he stops and he pulls out a cigar, and then he looks around and he offers cigars to everyone in the room. And those who want a cigar take them, and they light up, and then the story proceeds. But that's like 2 or 3 panels right there, because it's something you might see in a movie.
I think the key thing is what propels the story. You know, there's a lot of script that comes out that I go, okay, you gotta show people who these characters are, not by word. You don't say who they are, you show it.
Yeah, show don't tell.
Don't tell. See, we're saying it at the same time. Show don't tell. So, and then what you got to do is when you put the stuff in, you got to know what doesn't need to be there. I mean, if you're writing a scene or drawing a scene or writing a scene, creating a scene that is just because you think it would be cool, you throw it away. It doesn't mean anything. The narrative storytelling in comics is just that. I mean, it's storytelling. It's everything you put down needs to matter and propel everything else. It could be 5 issues from now, but what it is doing, it's reinforcing things or enforcing things or inferring things will come, that have come, that are about the character or about the story, and you must propel the story. Now, when you're writing something about a character's way and who they are, what you're doing is you're trying to let the audience know that later on and forever, it's a trope throughout that this character is this way. So you're telling the audience the character is this way. So you could, when the character reacts a certain way to a situation, you go, oh, that makes sense to that character. Because writers don't want to write every character with the same voice. It's a big problem. It's a huge problem we see in the industry. They just write words and people talking and things happening, and you're like, well, but who is the character? Why is that character saying the same thing? That could have been any one of these characters the way you wrote them, but you cannot write characters like that. You have to write them differently, so each one has its own voice. And these are the things that Mike's talking about, and these are things he already just has in his head. He already knows this stuff. He doesn't even think about it at this point. He knows each character is different, and that this group or this character in this situation will be this way. And when you write that, it's inferring that that character is this way, and that's why they act this way in a situation that Mike puts him in, or her. But if you just write a bunch of jargon that wastes time about nothingness because you want to say something stupid, nobody cares. It doesn't do anything to the story. Throw it out.
Yeah, it's most important that all your characters sound like real people talk, even if you're making the language up. And you can do that. But as long as it sounds the way real people talk, then you can put it over. Events in a story must rise organically out of the situation you've created, which is not just the plot. It might be a battlefield. It might be an elegant mansion. But it also has to do with the personalities you've created. And as long as those events rise organically out of the situation you've created, then the reader will accept them.
Exactly. There you go. From the man.
Well, I look forward to our collaboration.
Me too, Mike. Me too. I think it's going to be pretty fun.
Can't wait to see what you come up with.
I can't wait to see what I come up with.
All right. We all know what the heroine's going to look like, though, because it's based on Vanessa Angel, an actress who appeared in Kingpin, among many other movies, and we're delighted to use her likeness. But that's it for me for today. Dorian, Guy, you got anything else?
I would like to just plug something.
Go ahead.
Lost Landers is a book I came out for. It's a toy company, Bamco Toys, that me and my partner Thomas Chillemi started, created. We put together comics and graphic novels We have more in the works. We have toys being made, and there's going to be a free comic book day comic of 28 pages. And it's drawn, the 15 pages is drawn and done by Pop Man, who is a longtime industry professional and worked on He-Man and such like that. And the second story is an 8-page story by me and Walter Simonson. Walter Simonson, writer, me, illustrator. And it's coming out, I believe, March 2nd. May 2nd is Free Comic Day. And I'll actually be in Georgia making an appearance at oh God, what's the name of the shop now? I'll remember and let you know. Infinite Realities in Tucker, Georgia. Infinite Realities. I'll be signing there on Free Comic Book Day, and I'll have the Bamco, Thomas Chillamy and Guy Dorian Sr.'s Bamco's toy comic. And look for action figures coming out, and we have a special type of figure coming out that's a toyetic play. I'll call it a play system that's coming out soon. So it's all fun. I have a lot of other stuff in the works, but I'm just pushing that one.
All right. You got to send me a copy. I'll send you some of my stuff. I will be at the El Paso Comic Con on that date. If you're in Texas, you can be far away and take all day together. But if you're around El Paso and you're a comic fan, please come on by. And before that, for 2 days, on the Wednesday, the 29th, I will be at Nilco Comics in San Antonio. I will be there 29th, 30th, and 31st.
Awesome. Also, last thing. Sorry, I was eating lunch while I work.
I see that.
Last thing, Nerdy Musings. It's a podcast I go on. My good friend James Foster, 3-time, I think, ultra heavyweight jiu-jitsu master and champion of the world. 6'5", 320. Amazing martial artist, and he's also a professional arm wrestler, I think. He has a thing called Nerdy Musings podcast, and about 6 of us go on there. I am the oldest guy on there, longest in the industry. But if you guys check it out, Nerdy Musings. There you go.
Thanks, Bob.
Really great seeing you, Mike.
Likewise. Hope we can get together soon.
Absolutely. Me too, man. I'm sure we will.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Ozzy, what are you doing? Come and have a look at this lovely book that was sent over.
You're wrapping in the burning.
Oh, go on and spit that back out your mouth. No one can understand you like that.
Very now. Say how 5 dentists and all.
Oh, well, that's not much better. Ozzy, why don't you sing to me? I can always understand you when you sing to me.
Oh, fucking my brains. What is this my publisher sent me? Inked in black with art so sweet.
So what do you think? Do you like it?
Oh, Lord, yeah.
If you missed the live viewing of any Meg production, you can find all our content on Roku or as a member of this channel. Madness Entertainment Group.